I'm Stefan of Johnson Explains, and today we're going to go over a topic most people overlook. Literally, your stovetop. In this lesson, we'll learn 3 things. Types of burners, the types of stovetops, and we'll do a brief overview on pots and pans. So grab a seat, silence your phones, because class is now in session. All right, let's talk about burners. Every stovetop is going to have at least 3 burners. Power burner, an all-purpose burner, and a simmer burner. And the difference is not only in size, but in BTUs, or British thermal units. Obviously, the bigger power burner is going to have more BTUs, so it's going to create more energy, and the simmer is going to have the least amount of BTUs. And right in the middle is the all-purpose. And each one of these actually has a specific function. I know what you're thinking. Your favorite burner is probably the one on your right or your left if you're left-handed, but you know, they all have specific uses, and I'm going to tell you why. With power burners, they're good for boiling water for pasta or stir-frying with a wok. The all-purpose burner is good for sauteing, vegetables, or just simple pan frying, things like that. And the simmer burner is going to be good for making sauces, more delicate things like a custard, or just anything that requires a good little simmer. And you're probably wondering, well, this is pretty like common sense. Well, it is. The power burners, you want bigger pans and pots, and the simmer burners, you want smaller pans and pots. But like I said earlier, different burners have different functions, and so do pots and pans, which we will go over later. That being said, don't use a small pot or pan on the power burner. The flame is gonna go over, and it's not only gonna ruin your pan, you're gonna burn your hands too, because that flame is just creating heat, and it's not being absorbed by your pot or pan. And reversely, if you put a giant pan on a simmer burner, it's not gonna heat up the pan well enough, and it's only gonna focus the heat in the center, so it just doesn't really work. So use your brain, it's common sense. And fun fact, BTU stands for British thermal units. The amount of energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 pound of water at sea level by 1 degree Fahrenheit. Just think about it like this. The power burner is gonna be hard and fast cooking, and the other end, the simmer burner, is gonna be low and slow. Just think of it like a graph. Hard and fast, low and slow, anything in between. All right, let's talk about the types of stovetops. There's 3 types: electric, gas, and induction. And I like to use kind of a metaphor. The electric is kind of like a bicycle. The gas stovetop is going to be your Toyota Camry, just like a daily driver that's reliable that you can use every day. And the induction is more of like a Porsche, a Maserati, a Lamborghini. It's nice, it's fancy, but honestly, you don't really need it. But let's start with the first one, electric. The electric stovetop is going to have some pros and some cons, which I've listed here. The pros are that it's cheap and it's easy to clean, but that's really all about it. The cons really outweigh the pros. And the first one being that electric stovetops really take a lot of energy, almost 3 times as they do with gas stovetops. They also take forever to reach temperature. They have less control because there's no visceral flame, and they also get damaged really easily. I lived in an apartment for 6 years with an electric stovetop, and I absolutely hated it, to a point where it actually stopped working because it pretty much like blew up in my face. Something happened with the coils, and it literally melted the top of the burner. So that's kind of my experience with electric stovetops. But let's move on to the gas stovetops in the test kitchen. All right, I have here a gas stovetop. This is the cream of the crop. This is what you want in your home kitchen. 1, because there's an actual flame, so you can feel the heat, you can adjust the power settings, you can see everything visually. 2, it's really easy to clean. This is actually a double power burner, which is pretty rare, but here it is, right centered. Sometimes it's also to your right, and fun fact, most people say their favorite burner is actually to your right because that's usually where your right hand goes. So if you're at home, your power burner is probably in the center or to the right, and then to the left of it will usually be the all-purpose burner, like here. And then around the edges, we have the simmer burners. There's a flame, there's gas, which could be a con because, you know, gas leakages are very dangerous, but overall, this thing is totally worth the money. All right, let's go back and talk about induction cooktops. All right, I have in front of me an induction stovetop. What's different about this than all the other stovetops is that it uses a magnetic field to create energy. That energy is used to heat up your pot and pan. And fun fact, or a must know, only certain types of metal work with induction cooktops, so please be aware of that. And the 3 materials that work with induction cooktops are cast iron, carbon steel like a wok, and stainless steel. So let's get into the pros and cons of induction cooktops. Good pro is that induction cooktops, they heat up and they cool down really easily. They're also really easy to clean because they're mostly flat, so you can just scrape away sauces or like grime. Kind of a con or pro, depending how you look at it, is that they usually will have a touch sensitive control, and Personally speaking, I don't really like that. I think it's kind of inorganic and the buttons get all really weird and it's hard to touch. But some people do like that, so it's really up to you. They can be really expensive, which is a con, but at the same time, they can be also really, really nice looking and beautiful in your kitchen. So it really depends on your budget and what you're looking for. Only the area where the magnet is will be hot. Everywhere else around it is going to be cool. So it's going to be weird. It'll be like hot and cold in one part, which is good for kids who like to touch things. Just like a safety thing if you want to build out in your kitchen. Induction, it's cool technology. It looks beautiful, but it does have more maintenance in terms of having a correct pot and pan. But overall, it's pretty neat. All right, let's briefly go over some pans. I have with me some of the most common cookware you'll see in your kitchen. These two right here, these are skillets or frying pans or saute pans. I have a bigger one and I have a smaller one, just for preference, and depends on what you're cooking. You know, fish and steak in here, maybe some veggies. Really depends on what you're cooking. Over here, I have a saucepan. It's gonna be, you know, taller, deeper. You can hold more water, more liquids. Usually the edges inside are curved to prevent anything from sticking. A must-have if you're making sauces or, you know, custards and things like that. And you can actually do some pan frying in here because the oil won't spill out if you have a bigger size. And the last one right here, last but not least, is the cast iron skillet. The best use for cast iron is for really high heat, intense cooking, like searing a steak. This material is really tough, so you don't have to worry about it getting scratched up or, you know, melting. It is gonna withstand a lot of heat, which makes it great for searing or high-powered cooking, high heat cooking. All right, that's about it. We learned about the types of burners, we learned about the types of stovetops, a brief overview of the pots and pans. We'll probably talk about it more in another episode, so let us know if you're interested. Now you know, and thanks for watching.